So I'll take it to you, Adeni Ikunu, my very good friend and former colleague. I want you to answer that question. How can we deepen the process for other political parties and also, deepen the process for women? What should even the media be doing as regards that? Because some people put it at our doorsteps, say we don't even give them enough airtime and the likes. What do you think, Adeni?
All right. Thank you very much first for bringing me in here. I think one fundamental question that many people have not been able to answer is that what is the role of the Nigerian media in making things become what it should be as regards the electorate? And the fundamental question must be answered in how the media is inclined towards, getting people into their platforms on equal basis so that we can have things done the way it should be done. Now, if we look at the debate that was held days ago of the two leading political candidates, and the debate that was also held days before that one, where you had some other candidates participate in that debate, I think the media should take the full swipe for creating a platform for two leading political parties, whereas they created another platform for part of the 12 other parties. The media is so powerful in setting agenda, in shaping discussions, in enhancing robust discussions, and of course ensuring that there's equitable perspective within the scheme of the political sphere. But it is very unfortunate that, but one thing is, the media now appears not to understand that its role, in fact, has been compromised by the way it has been running things. What would have happened, for instance, if the media had extended invitation to one of the leading parties and 6 other of the political parties on one platform and bring the other leading parties and 6 other political parties on another platform? That would have amounted to at least finding some equity. Then another thing would be the invitation into the studios for preparatory to this election. Many media organizations have become very comfortable with having these particular leading political parties on their platforms more often, such that even the electorate that should have been sensitized or educated into making proper decisions or informed opinions has not been able to do that. Whereas the media should be responsible towards the electorate and not the political figures in these political parties. So I therefore want to say that the media over the years has continued to reshape democratic values by their actions, by their role in elections, such that the electorate has been at the receiving end of numerous disadvantages regarding making the electorate decide properly on what it should do. Let me tell you my experience. Last year, leading up to the gubernatorial election in Lagos State, I was privileged to hold the gubernatorial debate organized by Yali Network in Lagos State. We extended invitation to the APC candidate, which is now the current governor, Sanwo-Olu, and we extended the same invitation to Jimmy Agbaje, and of course, 13 other political parties. When it was time for us to have the debate, at the last minute, we thought that the PDP was even going to be around. The PDP didn't come. The APC did not even send us word close to when that particular debate was going to hold. We went ahead with the 13 minor political parties. As a matter of fact, when 1 or 2 of those that attended that particular debate found out that the PDP and the APC wouldn't be coming or weren't going to be around, they wanted to just call it off and say, how could we be here and other political parties wouldn't be around? So what happened to us, we went ahead with the debate and we did not create another platform for the PDP and the APC. Had we done that, that would have been an outright disservice to the electorate. That must be the focus. I have to say this, the media is culpable in many of the election problems we have on the side of the electorate, because the media has not lived up to its billing in shaping the opinions of the electorate. Rather, the media has been concerned with bringing the ideals of those who vote. It is first about the people that vote, so that when they go there to cast their vote, they will decide properly about them. So we have to change the conversation. I hope the media forthwith will be repentant enough of what it has done that has not favored the electorate forthwith. If you extend an invitation to any member of the leading political parties and they tell you they cannot be around with other minor political parties or other political parties because all political parties should be equal, do not conduct a special one. Look at the presidential election of 2011. Look at the presidential election of 2015. Look at the presidential election of 2019. Where Atiku Abubakar, the leading political candidate of the PDP, declined participating in that particular debate because the leading candidate of the APC, the current president, Muhammadu Buhari, did not appear. That is a complete disrespect. And I think what the media should do is to encourage the electorate that whenever there is a debate organized and the person you extend an invitation to doesn't show up, don't vote for that person because it's a complete disregard.
Okay.
Yes, please.
There are other critical stakeholders that play a critical role in ensuring that we have free, fair, credible, and safe elections. Mr. Deni Ikunu, let me bring you back to the conversation. The role of the other stakeholders, let's begin from security.
Yeah.
Do you think that this has been a great performance outing so far?
Well, if I do a retrospect of what's in the news, you would agree with me that there are a number of things that had happened before now that appears to perhaps would have stepped on the brakes of people who want to run amok and get violent. Number one, we have 31,000 police officers deployed for this election. Then what many people are not talking about is we also have about 13,000 civil defense corps there in Edo State. Out of that 13,000, you'd have about 7,500 deployed around the 18 local governments and obviously the over 160 wards in the state. Then you have the remaining sent to respective polling stations. That's two. Then thirdly, about 48 hours before now, there was a show of force by the force that are actually in Edo State. About 70 vehicles of the combined team of the security operatives went around Edo State. And of course, they've done their bit in telling them that if you intend to be violent, there's a superior force in place to deal with that. Then one of the things that people perhaps should also look at is that for the first time in many years of the Edo elections, the Oba of Benin called the leading figures in these elections and spoke with them in the presence of his chiefs as well, that there is the need for them to actually, be peaceful. And if we also look at one thing that is fundamental, Edo South happens to be a place where these particular figures are from. Basically, if you're talking about the Benin people that have about 52 or thereabout % of the entire voting population, the entire population in Edo State, you'd agree with me that all of these things have come into place to ensure, thank you very much, to come into place to ensure that these things are very important. But beyond that is for me to still say that one of the things that can really help stem the tide of violence and electoral malpractices has to be with the level of exposure and enlightenment of the people. I know we've had this conversation around the media should not be culpable with respect to how the two leading political parties are the one holding sway. But from my following of this election, you would agree with me that many houses have gone to the places where the candidate of the PDP and the APC will be voting. But how many of the media organizations, I'm not saying arise, please hear me right, how many of the media organizations, because I've been following, have also gone with the 12 political parties to their own polling stations so that we can see what is happening. So when we talk about the media really leading in creating the proper narrative that allows equity in everything we do, it is beyond the conversation of the media also has to make money. We know that. But if it is 5 minutes of non-paid airtime that you give to PDP and APC, I know it's quite expensive to run media organization. Also give 5 or 10 minutes to other people. In doing this, you do not only showcase the capacities or the prospects of those other political parties, you are also educating the people that will eventually be part of it so that they'll do things. Then your analyst in the studio was talking about the UK as having 2 major political parties. But I want to put it to him. You know that it was the UKIP that actually disrupted the activities of the Labour Party and the Conservative, resulting in the Brexit that has not even favored many people according to them. The UKIP, the United Kingdom Independent Party, among many others. So I need us to understand the political history. And for you to also say that 2 leading political parties, this is a gubernatorial election. If we say the presidential election doesn't give us room to engage at a larger level, but this is a gubernatorial election that should be close to the people, connecting to the local government. So basically, these are the issues.
Okay, Adeniyi, I just have to reiterate very strongly here that as regards giving platforms, and I'm going to, read another message somebody sent to me. As regards giving platforms, we here at Arise have done a lot, to give platforms, to even the so-called lesser party. I'll give you an instance.
Yes, please.
We gave 45 minutes airtime to Stevie Ozono.
All right.
Of the National Rescue Party. Yes. 45 minutes prime time airtime.
That's good of you.
On the morning show.
That's good.
To Stevie Ozono.
That's good.
And we have constantly covered other candidates while the electioneering process went on.
That's why I didn't. That's why I didn't say. I said not the Arise TV.
I just wanted to clear that. And another message to you.
Yes, please.
And maybe Mr. Feni will come in from here. Is even in the UK and the likes that you talked about, Adeniyi.
Yeah.
The fact is, the role of the media is to report the stories. But a lot of people argue with you that a lot of the, I don't like to use the word lesser parties, don't even generate enough news stories that are worthy of hearing. You talked about UKIP. UKIP could only do that because of the personality of Nigel Farage.
Yes.
Not the political party UKIP. And that's why once Nigel Farage left UKIP, UKIP is dead. Nobody talks about UKIP again.
Fantastic.
Adeniyi, I'd asked you a question. I was in the process of asking you a question before I went to Benin live. I was asking, what do you think is responsible for the sort of turnout, the sort of, if you'd like to say, orderliness we've seen so far in this election, considering the predictions we had?
Well, there were lots of things leading up to this, which more or less has to do with removing the roots of godfatherism in Nigerian politics, and as we can see in Edo politics. If we did a little retrospect, there was a particular time when it was said by an APC member that Obaseki mentioned that in Lagos politics, the political elites, if they have to do anything, they don't go to Alausa in Ikeja, they go to Bodilon. That if anybody wants to really do anything or more or less be associated with governance or perhaps godfatherism, rather than come to Osadebe House, they should go to Adams Oshiomole's private residence. But at the same time, let's understand that in Edo State, one of the challenges now is that the political elites who, according to feelers, said they brought Obaseki into governance and that Adams Oshiomhole helped him win the 2016 election, appears to be left in the cold. But the people at the grassroots are saying they want political godfatherism to come to an end because Adams Oshiomhole himself retired the former Anthony Aneni that was started to be the political godfather in Edo State. But let's look at 2016, for instance. In this election, we had over 2 million registered voters, 1.7 million PVCs collected. In the last election of 2016, there were 613,244 total votes cast. Out of that, the APC scored 303,761. The PDP scored 253,173. The margin was 66,310, with which the APC won the election, and the PDP actually won in 5 of the 14 local governments. So if we looked at the fact that in that election, the APC came to power with just 66,000 plus margin, but only took 5 local governments out of the 14 local governments. We have to look at the power of incumbency now. We have to look at the things that have changed between then and now and begin to consider that even in that state, the PDP has a structure. And I need you to understand that if you are looking at the particular senatorial district where the governor comes from, that has the largest number of voters in this election. If you look at the senatorial district where Oshiomhole comes from, Oshiomhole comes from Edo North. Edo North has Philip Shaibu. Edo North has Gani Audu, the vice governor, the deputy governor candidate of Ize-Iyamu. So if you look at Edo North that has 6 local governments appears to be a place where battle is. If you look at Edo South, for instance, you are also going to have the vote shared. If you look at Edo Central, where you have about 5 political parties, that's also going to be another tussle. But one thing that we must talk about is that some people have been asking, when are we taking over? So at the moment, you have to consider the fact that if Ize-Iyamu won the election, for instance, there's a likelihood of wanting to go for 2 terms. I wouldn't know what is going to happen to the Afemai and the Ora Nation, where that are in Edo North. They are Koko Edo people. So if, for instance, Ize-Iyamu, Obaseki rounds off, there's a likelihood that another person from another region might come into power. So for now, the power of incumbency is there. For now, how you are able to reach the grassroots is there. So you really have to also understand that there's a lot at play. So this election that is ongoing as we speak has a lot of things that will be going for both persons. So let us look at how much of the grassroots participation is going to define this. Are the political gladiators or the political elites, will they be able to influence this? And don't also forget that in the 3 senatorial districts, PDP has control of 2 senatorial districts, leading up to the time when there was a defection of both governors from their former political parties. So APC only had 1 senatorial district, that's Edo North. So if 2 senatorial districts were and are still in the hands of the PDP, how much are they going to be able to mobilize the grassroots to work in tandem with those that are actually from that? I also know that if you're talking about Edo North, one of the House of Representative members is also from the PDP. So I'm telling you here that there are lots of things at stake, and it only has to be seen what is going to become of this. Is this going to be the end of political godfatherism? Are people going to begin to look at the Edo example as a template for them to actually deal with political godfatherism? Or it is the fact that the godfathers of politics are going to hold sway? Don't forget, Oshiomhole had retired an any. Will Obaseki retire Oshiomhole? Those are the questions. And even if he retired Oshiomhole, how well would we see governance coming to the people who ordinarily should have the power? So I tell you, it promises to be an interesting thing in the days ahead.
Exciting prospect in the days ahead.
Yeah.
I'd like to say a very big thank you for that analysis.